I'm John Ed Mathison, and you're being a part of Go-Getters and Go-Givers. And I have a wonderful, wonderful guest today. I want you to meet a man that I've come to admire and has a great influence, Craig Bacheler. Craig and I have met. He is a very, very successful businessman in technology. I would like to tell you he calls me for advice at times about technology, but I can't spell technology yet. But Craig, it's just such a pleasure and getting to know you, and I want to learn a bit about your work and your philosophy of life and your story and how you got to this place. Thank you for being here, and just tell me, how did you get to where we are today?
Well, John Ed, thanks for having me. I'm going to tell you, I'm honored and humbled to be here. Before I tell you about me, I'm a runner, and so I run in the morning because in Alabama it gets hot quick, so you run in the morning. It's amazing. I run, and usually I'm about halfway through when the sun starts rising, and I listen to your go-givers and go-getters, and I listen to your God a Minute. And so it's an awesome way to start a morning.
Wow,
so
well, that's a great way to start this, too.
That's right, start this. So I really appreciate you and all that you do.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
A little about me. So I was born and raised in Philadelphia. By the grace of God, I joined the Navy, and through the Navy I met my wife who lives in Alabama. Her name is Christy. We moved here 26 years ago. I've always done technology. We have two boys, Brunson and Brooks. One's a senior at Auburn, one's a sophomore at Auburn. And technology is something I've always done, and God has graced me with the ability of doing it because I love two things. I love serving people, and I love technology. So where I've landed running an IT company is just a place I need to be. And I'll say God's timing is just perfect. So I'm glad to have me here.
Well, I don't know of a better field today that's wide open that it wasn't in the past is
Right.
IT.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you for that. And so tell me a little bit about why you have such a craving to share with people and to bring your company, which is now a huge company. And a little bit, I want you to tell us later about how much it's grown, and you're in several cities now. But to tell us why you have such a passion for your employees to get more than just a job, not make a living, but to make a life.
Well, early in my career, I was at a point where I was working for a company and I was doing really well. And I tell the story that, I love what I did. And the problem is when you love what you do, sometimes you get off balance. And so my first job when I came to Alabama, I was doing really well. I was working all the time. But I was leaving before my first son would wake up, and I'd get home when he was asleep. So by the time I had my second son, my first son was 4, and I was realizing I wasn't spending quality time with them. So we prayed about it, and I started Bacheler so that I could have quality of life. And that's kind of one of the things we promote with our company is that absolute quality of life. And so we try to have balance, and God is part of that balance for me. And he also has put really powerful people in my life. My partner, Daniel Nelson, who is a spiritual warrior. And then Brian Davis is another spiritual warrior that he puts people in your life to help you. So.
Well, God just seems to have that way. But, he's put you at the right place at the right time and what you're doing now and your company. Just tell me a little bit. I know you're in Montgomery, but outside of this.
So we've been in business 18 years. We expanded into Nashville 3 years ago, and then we are going to be expanding into Auburn at the end of this year. So God just has blessed us. God has blessed us, put the right people in the right place, and I think that we have found people that really love, again, technology, and they love serving people. And we can kind of talk about our core values. The core values at Bacheler, honesty, integrity, humbly confident, put others first, work ethic, and make a difference. And so as you see there, technology really isn't a part of that. I mean, we can teach people technology, but as far as their core, and again, I tell people that faith is a big part of what I do. And I tell people that IT is what I do, but I want to be defined by my faith. So I have my Bible on my desk.
I want you to say that again, because so many
Mm-hmm.
folks are watching that, don't spend time with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
You learned that, but then what's your motive there about faith? And
so again, it's and back in 2016, I kind of, things were going well. We had been in business 9 years. The company's doing well. By all sense, we were somewhat successful. We were looking at opening another office, but there was just a missing part. And so even being successful and having all that, I had this sense of just not happy, not content, not understanding. And there's so much negativity in the world. And so a spiritual advisor I have is Walter Albritton, which I know is a real good friend of yours. Mm-hmm. I think it's super important. People have business mentors. They have financial advisors. It's important to have a spiritual advisor too. And so Walter was my spiritual advisor. He's a fantastic person. We were having lunch one day, and he mentioned Emmaus. And I had absolutely no idea what Emmaus was, but I know that I was hurting. I knew that it just seemed like there was so much negativity. I was thinking about, in Sodom and Gomorrah, did they realize how bad they were? And kind of comparing that to the times of now, how bad we are. And I just didn't see, I saw a lot of negativity. So he signed me up, and it was, I didn't realize that for Emmaus, you got to be on a waiting list months. Well, he signed me up, and I went 2 weeks later. And so I went to this retreat.
When you're 92 years old, you can do that. You've got some clout. So, Walter, and by the way, too, Walter came to Christ through my father.
Did he?
Yeah.
Right?
And the whole family, and he was a pastor, and they came, and Walter's been a big influence in my life. He's been one of the mentors to me, and you talk about a godly man.
He is.
He is, and a great pastor, and I mean, even today, what he's doing. But go ahead and tell this.
So again, it was, and I didn't have really a whole lot of notice, didn't know you had to give up your cell phone. And so for a guy running an IT company, you're taking all my technology away. But I did. I went away for the retreat, and in that retreat, it just shows you people serve you. People, and that's kind of where I just got this overwhelming feeling. And I know that now that I know that there's more good in the world than not. And so I want to be part of that good. And so that kind of goes back to that balance. And so I want to balance, that family life. You got to spend time with your family, spend time with God, spend time in the Bible. But, again, IT is what I do. But at the end of the day, when I stand in front of God, I want him to say, you did good with the talents I gave you, and you ran a good race, my faithful servant. And so IT has nothing to do with that. So again, I want to define by my faith.
So God's not going to say, Craig, well said.
Exactly.
He will say, well done.
Yes, sir.
My good and faithful servant. And you're engaged in it. What impressed me so much is that you're a businessman, but you have a first priority for faith to be expressed in everything that you do. You know how I first met you? My wife has Mathison Interiors. And somebody told her about you, and you came and helped set up. Now, I don't even know all the right terms, but you made all that stuff work that you need in a business.
Yes.
And that was the other thing. And she came, told me about you and how patient you were. And she knows a tad more than I do about technology, but not much. But let me just give you a compliment. Because that was how many years ago?
That was 9 years ago.
9 years ago, and you've been helping ever since. Now you've grown big. And here's what she says. Even though you're really big and she's small, you still take the time and energy and respond immediately. You haven't gotten too big that you don't remember where you came from. And where do you get that kind of a thought pattern and lifestyle?
I would say that's part of our core value, humbly confident. But I'll tell you personally, again, when we started, I started back in 2008. It was my partner and I, and we had 3 companies, and we started. And so we grew very, slow and steady. But for the first companies that really, they took a chance on me, and Lynn did. I love Lynn. She took a chance on me. I was an unknown company. I'd only been around for a couple of years. And so, but it goes back to that serving people. I love serving people. And I love, when I can help people, when I can use my skills to help, I feel good about that. And so I absolutely love Lynn, and I appreciate her. I appreciate as much today as when she first signed up.
Good. And where did you learn all this about caring? I mean, for people, and why people are your priority? And there's an old saying, yet people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's important, not just in the ministry. That's important in life.
Right. Well, I think that God puts people in your life. I have had so many. I look back, and I was going to try to list the people in my life that God has put that have had an impact on me. And I think my father's one of them. And there's several people. You and I have a men's group that we meet on Saturdays that I think being around, I go to a men's group on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And I think it's important. You ask about how I come up with this. I think it's important for men to get together in small groups and be replenished and talk to each other and motivate each other. And so I tell you, every time I go to Saturday, if I'm in town on Saturdays, I'll be at that meeting, because when I leave, I'm ready to take on the rest of the week.
Right. But let me just tell everybody, when you say you're in town, that means you might be at the lake, and sometimes it takes you 45 minutes to drive in for that. And a lot of us do something if it's convenient.
Right.
But it's not really convenient when you're at the lake and you got to come to town and doing that. But you're always there, and you can contribute. And look at the people we've met. We've met Tim Lee, and we're going to take a break in a minute, and then when we come back, I want you to tell us about that relationship. We also have a great man named Ken Austin.
Love Ken Austin.
And Ken Austin, and you're talking about a servant. And we've been over to the servant maker's house, and you and I have had a chance to do things with him, and we want to talk a lot about that. And tell us about your family. Now, I met your boys.
Yep. So I have my wife, beautiful wife, Christy. She's from McKenzie, Alabama, which is a little south of Evergreen. And then I have Brunson, who's a senior at Auburn, and Brooks, who's a sophomore at Auburn. So.
Right. Well, you just had such an awesome. I know you've had a great. God spoke to you one day. We hear about God speaking,
right?
And I became very interested in that when you said God speaking to us. And when we come back, I want you to tell us about how God spoke to you, but also you had some family challenges.
I did,
and I want you to share that in our next segment of this about how God does that. You live the faith. Now, some people talk it, you live it, and I just love what you said. I hope every man heard what you said about spending time with your kids, and it was a wake-up call for you.
It was.
When that happened.
And it's gone in a blink of an eye. I have 2 boys in college, and what I would do to wrestle them back in the backyard, when they were younger. Now, if I wrestle them, they'd probably hurt me. So, but time goes quick, so you just got to appreciate. You have right now, you have today. You're not promised tomorrow, and you can't worry about yesterday. So you just do the most you can with what you got today.
And God's given you a talent. And I hope everybody will get what you're sharing with us. If you take your talent and you use it for what God's called you to do, He can take it and multiply it. And just let me just ask a question. When you do something that's utilizing your talent, who gets the biggest blessing? The person to whom you offer that, or you?
I would say me. There's absolutely no question about it. It's me. It's a funny, quick story that, when I was first starting, we had one of our customers call me on Christmas morning, and he had a problem. And he called me, and I was able to fix it. And then people asked, well, weren't you mad that he called you on Christmas morning? And I was like, no. Christmas morning, he got his son a gift. He was in panic mode. Something worked. Who did he call? He called me. And so in their time of need, they called me. And my wife knows that. She understands that. But it brings me more joy to help people than the people I'm helping.
And we're going to talk next item about a good friend of ours who died just recently, who said, wake up every day and don't look for a blessing, be a blessing.
Life can change in a dime.
Yeah, and you got a pen. Would you just hold that up a minute? Right there. It's that's what is on there.
Tim Lee's pen. Life can change in a dime.
And I want to talk a little bit about that. But before that, I know you had some tough, trying times, and you had a great experience. And maybe you just share that with us. And I know I've got a grandson that's going in the Navy. The Navy played a part of that for us. Share that with us.
So born and raised in Philadelphia, not such a great, not the nice area of Philadelphia, but raised in a Christian family. We always went to church. But then I hit my teenage years and just fell into a bad crowd. Fell in a bad crowd doing things that I shouldn't be doing. The law got involved. And so my father, who wasn't good in health, we had a falling out. We just one night we had a falling out. I just graduated. And it really is when you can see it in your eyes that you've thoroughly disappointed your father. It just had an impact on me. And this is kind of one of the things I want to say is at that time I wasn't talking to God. I'm like, I knew he existed, but I was more important. I was taking care of myself. Even if you're not praying for yourself, chances are somebody is. And I know that he was praying for me.
Now say that again, because we got some people watching and listening who might not realize that.
So I'll say, even if you're not praying for yourself, chances are there is someone out there that is praying for you. I know for a fact because I talked to my father afterwards, and he got on his hand that night that we had a falling out, and he got on his knees and prayed to God that something would happen. So the next day I got in my car and I just left. Didn't know where I was going. And I wound up at the Army recruiting station. And so God had his way. He knew where he wanted me to go. The Army recruiter was out to lunch. And so I walked up to the door. The Navy recruiter's next door. And it's amazing how God just works. And the Navy recruiter invited me in and just, asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, I just want to get out of Philadelphia. And he's like, how quickly? And I was like, as soon as possible. He's like, I can have you in a bus in 2 weeks. I said, sign me up. So through that, joined, went to boot camp, went to school for actually the first 2 years, getting basic and advanced electronics. And that's kind of always done computers, but that's getting certified in computers. And through my time in the Navy, through school and then being shipped overseas in a carrier to Japan, my father and I would correspond back and forth through letters. We were able to mend that relationship. Unfortunately, a year before I got out, he had a massive heart attack and died. So, but, I am blessed that him and I were able to reconcile. And again, sometimes tough love. I love my father to death for having to, I hate that I put him through it, but he guided me through that. But that set me on the course for where I am now. So again, God's perfect timing, you just got to be open to it. And so I didn't know why I was driving, didn't know where I was going, and God kind of led me there. And that kind of changed directions. And so through the Navy, through a friend, I met my wife. And then I was planning, when I got a Navy, I was planning to move to California. God had different plans. I met my wife, and we moved down here.
To Alabama.
To Alabama.
That's always a great thing when you miss California.
That's right. And looking back now,
Alabama.
It is by the grace of God, I absolutely love being here. And this is where I should be. This is where I belong.
And how did you get started in all of this with electronics?
So again, I've always done computers. I've always been fascinated with computers. And so when I got out of the Navy and I had, I knew, had some certifications, I started working for an IT company, managing other companies' networks. And again, I excelled in it. And when you excel at it, I was early. I was usually first one at work. I was usually the last one there. I got all the promotions. And this is kind of one of the things I was talking about. I didn't have balance. And that's kind of where I realized that I was spending too much time at work. And the problem is that wouldn't have changed. And this is one of the important things I want to talk about is that if you find yourself not in the right place, pray to God. God will give you answers. Now, you might not like the answers. You may, but while I was praying about trying to balance my life with work, I had a friend call me and said, hey, you really should start your own IT company. And so I had encouragement to do that. And so, again, I started the company. It was me, my partner, and we had 3 companies. And then we just, again, loving what you do and having that passion to serve people, we were to grow from 3 companies to now we have over 150. We have offices here and offices in Nashville, and we're about to open one in Auburn. But again, it goes back to, we try to find those people with the core values. And we don't preach at work, but if anybody wants to talk about, I have my Bible on my desk. If anybody wants to talk about my faith, we have team meetings once a quarter where everybody gets on a Zoom, the people in Montgomery, the people in Nashville. We have a person in Arkansas. Everybody gets on a Zoom call. And I talked to you about this a couple of years ago that I was hesitant to do this. And you kind of gave me, I was concerned about the diversity of my workforce. Am I going to offend anybody about praying? And you reminded me, it's not your job to worry about offending people. It's your job to talk about your faith. So,
Amen.
So now, and before every company meeting, we read a Bible verse, and we have a prayer over the company. And so I think that's powerful. And again, I think that has helped us to get where we are.
And what you do speaks louder than anything you would say anyway. So let me ask, how does that affect how you might look for future employees? How do you pick who you want? Because I've heard you say that you're like the people you hang around with.
Right.
And you got the encouragement from somebody to start.
Right.
And I hope everybody hears that. Every day we can be an encouragement to somebody, and you don't ever know what one statement might mean. But also, what do you look for? If say I'm looking for a job, and I meet you and ask you, do you have an opening?
So I try to keep it simple. In my life, I really try to keep it simple, put God first. But when it comes to the company, we talk about our core values, and it really becomes being a servant. And for what we do, we manage companies' networks. We are fixing broken computers. We are solving problems, but we are a servant. When people have problems, they call us and we go to fix it. You have to have that heart of a servant. And technology, you either know technology or you can be taught technology. That's not the hard part. The technology is almost the easy part. It's the being humbly confident. It's making a difference. And that's kind of where in my world, I just try to get up every day. And my goal for the day, have a positive impact on one person's life. That's it.
Wow.
And so if I have a positive impact on more than one person's life, that's great. But that's kind of I get up in the morning and say, how can I make one person's day better?
And people have made your day better.
Yes.
Now, I'm very anxious to hear about the call. When God gave you a call, I think.
So last year, and I'm trying to do better. I have people in my faith. I have my spiritual advisors. I have my partner Daniel Nelson. I have my COO Brian Davis. Their walk with Christ they are much further along. They're much more mature than I am when it comes to that, and I try to emulate them. But so I try to improve all the time. Well, last year was a tough year. I mean, it was an election year. There's a whole bunch in IT, just across the board. It was just a challenging year. And so I had a conversation with God, and I just asked, I prayed, what do you want from me? What do you want me to do? What can I do? And you talked about Ken Austin. We have adopted the MAP Center. We've adopted Mercy House. I love Ken. We try to support them financially. We support them with support. The Montgomery Food Bank. We've always supported good causes, but having a conversation with God, asking him last year, what do you want me to do? I just kept having a sense of do more. And so this year we stepped out. This year we said, okay, we are going to do as much as we can to the point that my CFO says, hey, we have to have funds to run the company. But I've told you, if there's a charity event that asks for money, we have donated. If there's someone that's asked for time, we have helped. And I'd say this, you can't outspend God. I will say this year has been a phenomenal year. We've partnered with the Alabama Christian Academy, Greg Glenn. That has gone fantastic.
That was the I know Saran Stacy.
Saran Stacy
was there, and
Well, I'm actually I'm
tournament.
sponsoring a charity event in Nashville, and I'm playing with Saran Stacy next Friday. So I asked him to play on my team. Now I don't know if people know that he played for Alabama, but he also played for the Eagles.
That's
so
right.
I'm playing because he's an Eagles fan. But
it's Saran Stacy. I preached Sunday, and he's going to be at the church where I was in about 3 weeks. So awesome. Saran Stacy, and I did a podcast with him just recently, and but would you invest in businesses and people who are willing to make an investment, and you take that risk, and it doesn't matter. I know back when you were talking about just how do you bring a Christian influence into your company, and I said, look, you don't have to worry about that. You got to take a risk. If you take a risk, some good things can happen, some bad things can happen, but if you don't take a risk, nothing happens.
Exactly. And I would say that for taking a risk, the worst can happen is you can fail. The worst you can happen is it not work.
And then you can learn from that.
You can learn from it. And that's kind of why I love my Bible verse that I listen to, Lamentations 3:22-23. Again, I try to keep things very simple. Because the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassion never fails. they are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And in that, every day is new. Every day. And this is kind of where, if yesterday was a great day, I just try to continue it and I try to keep going. If yesterday was a terrible day, hey, guess what? Yesterday's over. Can't worry about it. Today's a new day. I have another 24 hours to do what I can do. And so, and what I try to do is I try to surround myself with godly men. And I would say
that's so important. And I hope every man, if Satan will whip any one of us if he gets us one-on-one, not a one of us, but he can't deal with a group. And he can't deal with folks that are supported. I mean, he's powerful, but if you surround yourself, and thank you for bringing that out to people and how important that is.
And one of the things you mentioned in one of your podcasts is the armor of God on you. And I think you got to continuously shine that armor. And I think going to men's group and surrounding yourself with godly men, you do that and you get replenished, because Satan has decades. Satan can wear at you, but if you surround yourself with godly men, we kind of talked about Tim Lee. So Tim Lee, I try to surround myself with people that inspire me. And you want to talk about an inspiring man. I don't know how he got done everything he got done in 24 hours.
Somebody asked me, does he have a job? And I know you tried to hire him.
I tried to hire him. Yeah, I tried to hire him. He is
so good. Well, this has been so informative for me, and I'm just so proud to see what you're doing in a really not a prideful way, but just proud because you're following what God's called you to do, and you're willing to step out and take risk and to move forward. Let me just ask you, if people want to know more about your business or about anything, do you have a website? So if not, I can set one up for you.
Well, you can. Hey, you know somebody? No. So we have a website. We try to keep things simple. It's www.wearebt.com. So it's wearebt.com. And then, or they can call us at 334-669-4530. But I will say, going through the day, trying to keep it simple. I have this yellow ribbon on. It's national. It's addiction awareness. And again, a lot of military people are hurting, and so if you can inspire someone. If you can help someone, help someone. Everybody can use help.
Good. And I hope you hear what he's saying. Everybody can help somebody, and everybody knows somebody who's in need, and you might be the very person. And you've made a difference in the lives of so many, many people. Now, let me tell you, probably folks are sitting there, if you're in technology, they're wondering, are you a robot? Let me just testify, you are for real.
I'm a real person.
And you're not just a GT chat, whatever that is.
I'm not AI.
But you're more GI, that's God intelligence. And you've really shared with us some marvelous things today, and I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for being a part of this. You might want to just listen to it again. You might want to share it with some people. I hope you'll do that. And you mentioned the armor of God. Next year, I'm going to ask my ministry to make an armor of God, put on the armor of God next year. And we're going to do some things. And
well, I'm looking forward because you inspire a lot of people. You're one of the key things that keep me going in my run in the morning. So I'm inspired by you.
So what if instead of 1 minute, what if I went for 12 minutes? Would you still listen to 2 or 3 of them and run that far?
So good thing about technology is it just goes to the next one. So in a 6-mile run, I listen to a lot of John Ed.
Yeah, and the good thing is you can cut it off. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. And I just pray that you be a go-getter, but be a go-giver, because you've got something special to give.